But we're going to be talking about a different topic today. We're going to be looking at the idea that you or some people are boxed in by religion. Have you ever felt that way? Has anybody ever come to you and said, all religions are the same? Or they say, religion, I'm not interested. Have you ever heard anybody say something like that? Why do you think they feel that way?
They don't read their Bible and they don't understand.
Okay, they don't read their Bible?
Well, I tried reading the Bible with somebody, my ex-husband, and he wouldn't listen. He said, I don't understand any of that. I don't want any part of it. You and the kids have it, but I don't believe it.
Okay.
And he died. And my son says, Mom, he's in a better place. I said, I don't think so.
Well, the good news is that's not your choice. That's God's choice and him. Okay, but what does it mean if somebody says, they're religious? Have you ever heard somebody, they say, they do their exercises religiously? Have you ever heard that expression? What does that mean? Faithfully is what they should have said. It's a pattern. They get doing things. And now this is my definition of religion, okay? Don't write it down. Don't take a picture of it and send it. But this is my definition of religion. Are you ready for it? It's a belief in someone or something that is used to control the uncontrollable. Religion is not just doing something, but it's doing something in order to get something else to happen. Religion says, I'm going to do this in order to make God, whoever he or she may be, do that. I am going to force God. I watched professional wrestling as a kid, and we all knew it was real. It wasn't fake. So, we watched professional wrestling. And if somebody, when they're wrestling, if you wanted to control them, you got them into a half Nelson. Now, what is a half Nelson? Anybody here know what a half Nelson is?
Isn't that where you got them by the head?
What?
One arm over the other, around the neck.
No. A half Nelson is this. You get the arm, one arm, that's why it's a half Nelson. You get one arm here, and you hold it, and you've got control of them. They can't go anywhere without you, tagging along. You get to control them. Religion is trying to put a half Nelson on God to make him do what you want him to do. Or as I was talking to a friend today, this past week. Yes, I do have a friend. Yes, it's true. And I told them that religion was trying to force God to do something. And I said, I used a very unusual word. I said, it's blackmail. What is blackmail?
Forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do.
Isn't that what blackmail is? I'm going to blackmail you, so give me money. I will tell people everything about you or release this piece of paper unless you force them to do it, right? Religion is a form of blackmail. Blackmailing God, saying, you're going to do what I want you to do, and I'm going to be the one who controls you. Now, I have to warn you, I'm going to be using some images today which are very powerful, okay? And this is one of them. So get ready, get excited, but this is what religion is like, okay? This is what religion is like. What are these things? Syringes, needles. What's the point of a syringe? To inject something, to give you something, right? Tomorrow I'm going to see my orthopedic surgeon nothing as good as what you're going to get on Thursday. Boy, are you going to get a couple of these. But they're going to inject cortisone into my knees. Now, let me tell you, it's not about the needle. It's not about the syringe. It's about what's inside of it, isn't it? The syringe is just a container. And religion is a container. And it depends what's inside of it. You know, you can have all sorts of contents inside. Some of them for good. Some of them for evil. Some of them for somebody else. We watched that show, The Amazing Dr. Pol. Anybody watch him? Okay. Nice guy. But I don't want him sticking a needle into me. Okay? And injecting whatever he injects into them into me. Or doing what he does to animals, doing them to me. It's about what's inside. Jesus says that religious people, what they have inside of them has one purpose: to get control. To get control. Jesus says, "For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you certainly will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Jesus says religious people have an outside kind of view. They're like the syringe. But it's what's on the inside. What makes a religious person do what they do? This is where you talk, by the way.
I think each religion has their own rules of how to get that done.
Okay, different religions have different rules. They do. They certainly do. And it's all about control. They really do. The Pharisees got all upset with Jesus because they couldn't control him. It wasn't anything more than that. That what happens with Jesus, by the way, Jesus never said, I'm here to make bad people into good people. Did you know that? He never tried to make you better. He came to make you new, which is different. God doesn't want, we talked about, I got the lightning hit our compressor outside and melted it into the ground. So we got a new one. God's not interested in replacing the compressor of your life. He's interested in giving you a new life, which is a different thing. What do you mean by it's not controlled, Joe?
Well, it's not controlled by religion. It's controlled by God.
It's controlled, I like that. It's not controlled by religion, it's controlled by God. Can I let you in on a secret? The doors are closed, so it's just us girls. Okay? The day you come to the point where you know what God's going to do all the time, you've gone someplace wrong. God is the God of surprises because we never, ever can understand him. His ways are so far above ours. He wants us to follow him. And it's not about exteriors. Remember last week, Jesus, talked about there were different kinds of trees with fruit. Both of them had fruit. One of them was good fruit, and the other fruit was poisonous. He says there are two houses. The houses look identical, but one is built on the rock and the other is built on the sand. They're both houses, right? They look the same, and it's the same with giving. Jesus tells a story. There are people who give to be seen, to get the attaboys. And then there's this poor widow who gives 2 coins and nobody cares. And God says, that's the kind of giving I'm interested in. And when Jesus is so loving to people. He is loving to people who admit that they've got problems. He really is. But how does Jesus act to religious people who think they've got it all together? How do you think Jesus responds to them?
Well, he did respond to him. He said,
You're not going to be in heaven. It gets worse. He says, you bunch of snakes. Evil snakes, not just snakes. That the old one, King James was, you brood of vipers. How'd you like to have that? Somebody comes in your house. Hey, Chad, how you doing? You're just a brood of vipers. You know, is that going to win friends and influence people? No. He says, how can you say anything good? Your words show what is in your heart. They're children of snakes. And what are snakes?
The lowest creature on earth.
Okay, the lowest.
Symbol for Satan.
Symbol for Satan. They're kind of smooth on the outside. They really are. And they slither along.
They're killers.
Some of them are killers. The venom is hidden. They don't have a sign on the outside that says, danger, poisonous snake. They don't have people going around in front of them with flags, warning. No. The venom is hidden and then comes out when they bite. That's what these religious people are like. And Jesus has no room for them. He has no patience for them. There's an has anybody here ever split wood? Okay. What is it like to split wood? It's work? Rewarding? Do you say, yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, split.
You feel kind of.
Is that how it is?
Work hard.
You work hard? I'm sorry?
You gotta put your energy into it.
You got to put your energy into it. You can't hold back. It's like Charles Barkley when he plays golf. He swings like this. He goes, no, when you swing to split wood, you got to swing. And you got to give it everything you've got. You can't hesitate. You find your spot, you look, and you give it all. You give it everything. And Jesus is doing this same thing. He is no holds barred when he talks to these religious people. Listen to him.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites all! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. You do not go in yourselves, nor do you let others enter. Blind guides! You strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. You bow before the letter of the law and violate the heart of the law. Justice, mercy, good faith. You are like whited sepulchres, all clean and fair without, but within, full of dead men's bones and all corruption.
He was mad. Did he deserve to be mad? Yeah. He was not exactly gentle Jesus, meek and mild. And they deserved it. And has God ever spoken like that to you? He's gotten that way to me, and let me tell you why. Because I was a Pharisee. I still want to be a Pharisee. I want that control because I, like them, was smug. You know what the word smug means?
self-righteous,
Self-gratiated.
self-ingratiating.
Know-it-all.
No, oh, I like that. There you go. That's my middle name. Know it all. Oh, I got this wired. I know exactly what to do. And you know what's interesting about these people? Is that they are not shy about sharing their knowledge. I was in a living room one time, and we were having a conversation, and a particular person was speaking, and I waited. I was waiting for a quiet time, and so I waited. There was a pause. I jumped in and started to say something, and then they started talking over top of me. So I backed off. I stopped, and they went on, and so I waited, and they finally finished, and then I tried to continue, and then they jumped on top of me again. And this went on for a while. There was a moment, I said, "Excuse me, may I ask you a question?" And they said, "Sure," thinking that I know everything, so of course, ask me anything. And I said to them, "Do you know how you make me feel?" They said, "What do you mean?" I said, on a number of occasions, I've tried to share something, and you have talked over top of me. And so I stopped. How do you think that makes me feel? "Well, I know the answer." I said, "I'm happy for you. I really am. I'm very happy for you. But it makes me feel like I am a person of no value." That's smug. Because that's the result. That's how it makes people feel. Jesus never put people down like that. It was to call them to himself. Jesus isn't comparing evil people and good people, but he is comparing religious people and his followers. Because remember, we talked about, they all, on the outside, they all sort of can look the same, right? They all pray. Religious people pray, don't they? Jesus followers pray, don't they? But they do it in different ways, in different places, with different heart attitudes. They fast. We're called to fast, which means to go without food. But when a religious person fasts, what do? Yeah, they go around. They put it on their website. They put it on their phone. When somebody calls, the ringtone is changed. I am fasting, yada, da, da, da. Everybody knows. They got bumper stickers that says, "I'm fasting." Or what about giving? Religious people give. They do. But it's for them to receive. It's not about giving. It's to impress people. Whereas Jesus says, when you give, do it in secret. And let your Father who's in secret. He goes on to say, "You have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery." This idea, adultery is never a surprise, is it? You don't just wake up and say, "What are you doing here?" No, adultery is a planned event. You know what's going on. They didn't just materialize there. And Jesus says, religious people say, "Oh, I haven't done that." But what does Jesus requirement? There's a but. You see that but there? The but is what? A contrast. It says, it's one thing not to have adultery. But Jesus says, what's inside the syringe of your life? Looking lustfully. That's what's the inside. And that's what Jesus says. A Jesus follower is less impressed with the outside, but boy, are they impressed with what's going on the inside. I have lunch with some men on Wednesdays, and we've been doing it a little while. It's about 20 years now. And we are able to talk about things that you don't go shouting from the rooftops. We're able to talk about our weaknesses, our failures, our needs, our frustrations at home, at work, with family. It's about what's on the inside. That's where Jesus is. It's all about the inside. He goes on to say, anyone who divorces his wife must give a certificate. But I tell you, anyone who divorces except for sexual immorality makes her a victim of adultery. Again, the outside. If someone, back in that day, I am not condoning it, but it was allowed. Has anybody here ever burnt a meal? Okay. Those are grounds for divorce. Any particular reason. I made an apple pie yesterday, but what you didn't see is, what do you do with the leftover pie dough? We make something called pinwheels. Okay, you roll out the dough, and then you put some butter on it, you put some sugar on it, you put some cinnamon on it, and then you roll it up, and then you cut it, and then it looks like a pinwheel, okay? Really terrific. And I put them on a piece of aluminum. Oh, did I mention the butter? Did I mention that it's got butter on it? Yeah, it's got butter on it. Oh, it's got butter on it. And it doesn't have bacon, but it's got butter. So I rolled them out, I put them on a sheet of aluminum, and I baked them. And the pie is looking good. The house is smelling like cinnamon, and it's so good. And I burnt the pinwheels. Now, the thing about burning pinwheels is on top, they looked great. They did. But the melted sugar and the butter went down and burned. So I got the beautiful top and a black bottom of a pinwheel. Now, I ate them anyway, because I'm not going to let a good pinwheel go to waste. But that's what religion is like. The top looked okay. It looked good, as a matter of fact. But you pick it up, and what's on the bottom? Charred, burnt, bitter. Jesus goes on to say, and you have heard it said long ago, do not break an oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. A vow made in public. You made a promise. You don't break it. But Jesus says it's not so much about the outside, it's the inside, the promise that was made. You ever made a vow to God? Have you kept it? I'm really kind of weird. No news there. But I'm weird with words. I will make a promise, but I won't make a vow. Because in my mind, they're very different. A promise says, I will try my best. A vow says, I'm going to do it. I've only made 2 vows in my life. 2, that's it. The first vow I ever made was I made a vow before God that I would read his Bible every day. That was a vow. And 51 years ago this month, I started that vow. The other vow, only other vow I ever made, was at our marriage. That's it. God says, be careful about what you vow, what you promise. And it goes on, Jesus goes on to say, and this is the one we all like.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? You know, if they hit you on one cheek, what are you supposed to do? Turn the other cheek. And I'm like, Jesus, are you out of your mind? You know, but I'm going to suggest that Jesus has something else in mind. You know, we're not to resist the evil person. Why? Because if I turn the other cheek, I hope and pray for a restoration of that person. I want that person to be changed from someone who slaps me to someone who gives me a smack on the cheek, gives me a kiss. That's the turn the other cheek. I want to treat, Jesus says, treat people with hope. Yeah, they smacked you. Yeah, they hit you. Yeah, they hurt you. But can God change that person into someone different?
Yes.
Because they've already changed you into somebody different. That's the turn the other cheek. He wants us to be able to have hope for these people, to reconnect and reestablish them. One last thing. Jesus says, you have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy, right? This is the gospel according to The Godfather. The movie The Godfather. What does it say? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. The gospel of The Godfather. But Jesus says, love your enemy and pray for those that persecute you. We are to love our enemy. Loving enemy doesn't mean having all bubbly feelings. That's not love. God's love says, I want the best for them.
It's like making peace within yourself so you're not hateful.
How do you mean that, Sharon?
Well, that you come to, you're not judging the other person. You try to make allowances to understand them. You know, you don't know what prompted them to say that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at a later date, you can go back and say, you know, I'm not criticizing, but the other day or last week when you said so-and-so to me, it really hurt my feelings. And I must have said or did something to you to prompt that. If you could tell me, I can improve myself. So,
Okay, that can be part of it, but maybe another way to sort of broach it is to say, you know what, I love role-playing, by the way. Saying, you know what, the other day, you didn't seem to be in a happy mood.
that's a good way.
And I'm concerned for you. I want you to have a good, a nice, was there something going on? Because it's not always about you.
Right.
It's not always about I did something. It's, 3 steps before. And God says to me, I've been merciful to you. Be merciful to them. Because the target is a high bar. The target is to be perfect, right? And you say, I'm out of here, right? Enough of that, because I'm never going to make it. But the picture of perfection is not sinless. The picture of David was a man after God's own heart. Did he sin? Oh yeah. Not just yeah, it is an oh yeah. How about Moses? The man who God spoke to face. Did Moses sin? Oh yeah. Peter, the rock. Oh yeah. The perfection is that we come to him just as we are and we say, here I am, warts and all, cracks and all, brokenness and all. And he fills in the holes. He does what we can't do. Jesus, again, at these people, Jesus is so kind to the woman caught in the very act of adultery. Jesus is so kind. Tax collectors, are you kidding me? They're our enemy. They're taking money from us. And what does Jesus say? Hey, I'm coming over, let's break bread. But to the people who think they've got it all wired, Jesus has other words to say.
Jerusalem, the faithful city, she that was full of justice, has become a harlot. Stop him! No! Have you not heard? Have I not been told you from the beginning? What are your multitude of sacrifices to me, says the Lord? Bring forth no more vain offerings. Call the Lord the other night. And you have turned it into a den of thieves!
Well, that was powerful.
You don't want to mess with Jesus.
What film was that?
This is from Jesus of Nazareth. It was the one made for television. Jesus is kind to a point. But to people who think they've got their lives all together, not so much. But again, it's for their good. His intent is to get their attention. I ask myself this question: what does God have to do to get my attention? For some people, God whispers, and they're done. And they're good. They immediately drop everything and go. And then you got people like me. You know, need the frying pan upside the head kind of a thing. Jesus says, I want the best. But the people who want the religious way, they look at everything and they're saying, what's wrong with it? They're looking to pick at it. They're smug. They're looking for what's in it for them, what it's going to take away from them. They don't care about the mercy. It's about the rules. And that's why when Jesus healed the man at the pool of Bethsaida, they had problems.
So,
Look at me. Look at me. That's not what I asked. I'm not asking you about who's helping you, or who's not helping, or who's getting in your way. I'm asking about you.
I tried.
For a long time, I know. And you don't want false hope again, I understand. But this pool, it has nothing for you. It means nothing. And you know it. But you're still here. Why?
I don't know.
You don't need this pool. You only need me. So, do you want to be healed? So let's go. Get up, pick up your mat, and walk.
I'm free to walk, like he said. Don't forget your bed. Why does this matter? Because you're not coming back here. That life is over. Everything changes now.
I really like the exchange that Jesus has with him. He says, you don't need this pool. You don't need the structure. You don't need the traditions. All you need is me. Jesus says, all you need is me. And he comes and he offers himself to this man. And he comes not as a boss, but as a father. I'm assuming most people here have had a job sometime in their life. You got a job, you have a boss, right? Okay, you've had good bosses, maybe bad bosses, you've had bosses. But they're only your boss as long as you keep doing what they want you to do. Or they're only your boss if they can afford to pay you. A father, you disappoint your boss, and what happens? You're gone. You don't have a boss anymore, right? But a father, a mother, a godly father says, you have one, whether you do good or not. When you've done something wrong to your father or your mother, you still have a mother and a father, right? Maybe a disappointed one. Maybe one who wanted the Board of Education to meet the seat of understanding. But you still had a mother. You still had a father. It's very different. And this is what religious people can't get. They can't get it. Look at what happens. What they can't get is the fact that Jesus and his people are attractive. This guy is healed. People are attracted. People are attracted to other people who are living for Jesus. When you and I are living for Jesus, people are attractive. I mean, we're attractive. They want to find out. But not only are we attractive, but we should be attracted. Attracted to those people who need help. Attracted to the people who are having trouble. Because that's who God is. God says, come to me. And God doesn't say, come to me when you got your stuff all figured out, right? Come to me when you've solved all your problems. Come to me when all those relationships are all great, right? No. When does he say, come to me? As you are. But the religious people can't. They see what happened and they go nuts because it's not inside their box. Like it was for the healing at the pool.
Yo! It's Shabbat. What are you doing?
Torah forbids carrying a mat on Shabbat?
Not Torah, the oral tradition.
Yes. Transporting objects from one domain to another violates Shabbat.
The man who healed
Do
me.
you not realize what just happened here? Why are you trying to make this about
He
Shabbat?
said to me, take up your bed and walk.
Who did? Who told you that?
He did. I don't know. He didn't tell me his name.
No. Of course not. He performs a magic trick and tells you to commit a sin. A false prophet. This will be reported.
He will report whatever he wants. I'm standing on two legs. I'm sorry. I need to go find my brother.
This is exactly how religious people feel. They're outside the box. God does a marvelous thing, and all they can figure out is this will be reported. I'm going to show you a picture, and some might find it a little messy, but it's the lie. It's the lie of the enemy, okay? The lie of religion. This is an actual poster, an advertising poster that was published. And what does it say? Inner beauty only goes so far. That's the lie. The lie of religion says it's not about what's inside, it's about the outside. It's about the exterior. It's about that last coat of paint. It's about the veneer. That's what religion says. And that's why it's called it is a damnable lie. It is a lie from the pit. God's purpose for you and me is where? The inside. And anything that pulls that down is a lie. Jesus says, it's not about the outside, it's the inside, because he says to do what? Seek when? First, the kingdom of his kingdom and his righteousness. Then all these things are added. You got to seek the inside first. That's the goal. You know, this is a picture of Alex Honnold. He is the only man there out west. There is a park, and there's this a 5,000-foot cliff. It's called El Capitan. What do you notice about him? He doesn't have any ropes. Wow. He's the only man to attempt it and the only man to successfully do it. Nobody else has tried it. Now, Alex did not wake up one morning and say, wow, look at that, El Capitan, it looks pretty good. I think I'll just climb up it. Do you think that's what he did? No. Here's what he did. He studied it. He would walk up and he had notebooks full of notes. He wrote it down, where to turn, every hold, where to place each hand, where to put each foot for that ascent. And for as great as an accomplishment as it is, and he's to be commended for this thing. And I look at that, and I think about the prior verse, and I say to myself, am I really seeking like Alex sought? For this great task, every step. Because when you climb, there are options. Do I put my foot here? Here? Do I grab like here? You know, there are different routes. He studied to show himself approved. This was the and it took years. He just didn't do this over a weekend. This took years. And I'm embarrassed by him because of how hard he sought. How hard do I seek? How hard do we seek the kingdom of God? He did it for a couple of reasons. First of all, he didn't want to fall, which is a good reason, right? How hard am I willing to work so that I don't fall before God? Am I willing to put in the time and the energy to do it? And then he sat up on the top and just had this view that was a view of a lifetime, an accomplishment of a lifetime. Are you and I ready, willing to say, God, that's the kind of follower of Jesus I want to be? Because, or we are stuck, worrying about tomorrow. Am I stuck in the worry rut? Jesus says we're not supposed to worry about tomorrow because guess what? Tomorrow's got it. God's got tomorrow. We don't have to worry. It's outside of our control. I can stop worrying about it. Maybe you can stop worrying about it too. Religious people are all about the worry. Worry about the rules, the boxes, controlling. I was laying in my bed this morning praying, and I just thought back. I mentioned earlier, this is the month. I think it was September 12th of 1971 is when I first walked in and they said, here, teach the Bible. It's like, are you out of your mind? They said, you got a pulse? I said, yeah, you're qualified. And they threw me in with these fourth grade boys who all had grown up in the church. They knew so much more than me. But God said, I'm going to throw you in there. But guess what? I'm with you. Do you think God wants to throw you somewhere? God's got some people he wants you to connect with that only you can do it. There's only one of you. And God wants to be in you, to be part of that, and for you to reach out to those people, whoever they are. God's kind of hard-pressed to find anybody else like you because there's only one of you. And he wants you to be that person. Not to worry about tomorrow. Be willing to be the kind of person he wants us to be. Not religious, but a Jesus follower. Makes all the difference. Would you pray with me? Our Father and our God, I thank you that you want people who want to follow you. And God, that is our heart. I pray that we would open up new rooms in our heart of our lives to you. More closets, more drawers would be pulled out saying, here it is, all of it. Thank you for loving us so that you would send your Son. It's in his name. Amen.